Joanna, so she knows the turn.
Oh wait, 1 second. Where did I do with my? I got it. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 22nd work session. It is 5:30. I call this meeting to order. Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Hewitt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sui.
Here.
Commissioner Romanek.
Here.
Commissioner McQuaid.
Here.
Mayor Orndorff.
Here. Could all stand for the salute of the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in accordance to the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Just one, just the removal of the presentation by Tony Trungo, and he couldn't be here this evening.
Okay, I hope he is feeling better because I know he was under the weather, so I hope he's doing well. Thank you. So then we'll go on to presentations for this evening.
Yeah, we have a presentation by Samantha Silvers, Director of the Millville Housing Authority. Yeah, do you need
Is it like loaded on here? Well, it's a very tiny screen. Yeah. She's right there. Wouldn't you ask me to? I can probably sign in to my. Yeah. Yeah. I think I should be able to just log in then if that's, I'll just like get into my email.
Yeah, if you want.
I mean, it's not a big deal if we don't have, the visual, but I'll try.
Okay, hold on.
Whoops, somebody else has signed in. Oh, Lisa, it's yours evening. All right, so that was under. All right, I'm gonna abandon the presentation.
Do you, I can grab it from downstairs, and if you want to let the next presenter go, and I can
there
grab
is
it.
one?
Yeah. Did you want to do yours, and I'll go and grab that, and then we'll
Sure.
just
Do you
switch?
want me
Is
to
that
come?
okay?
Yeah.
If that's okay with Mayor?
And then we'll do-
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
that we should probably see a presentation if you
Yeah.
have it
Okay.
prepared.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So.
Did you wanna just copy this?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
We're ready, Marcy. We're ready.
Okay, so every year I have to discuss the best practice inventory that we fill out. And our score was, I want to start out with the good news. Our score was 32.50. And in order not to have any aid withheld, you need a 24. So we did way better. So, and the state requires each municipality to discuss all the no answers with the commission or council, whatever form of government you have. So I highlighted in the copies that you have in yellow all the no answers that were considered in the scoring. So number 4 was the first one. and that is the Fair Labor Standard Act is a federal law requiring that overtime pay must be paid for all hours over 40 hours in a work week, except for those employees classified as exempt and thus not entitled to overtime. Management employees such as elected officials, managers, administrators, municipal clerks, CFO, public works superintendent, police chief, and other department heads are typically classified as having exempt status and thus not entitled to overtime pay. Other municipal employees may also be classified as exempt under the FLSA exempt status. Exempt status also precludes overtime pay for time worked during emergencies, attendance at night meetings, and participation in training sessions. Compensated leave time in lieu of cash payments is considered a form of overtime pay unless such leave is utilized in the same pay period. Does your municipality not pay overtime to employees classified as exempt? We do pay. I believe the police chief is, in his contract, he gets paid comp time. And also, I believe that during snow emergencies, the supervisor of streets and roads also gets paid overtime. So I had to answer no for that one. How could we alleviate that problem to make it a yes? We would have to negotiate it in their contracts to do away with that. Now, for example, if I, like tonight I'm staying for the meeting, so maybe tomorrow, I might be a half an hour late. If you do it that way, the state is fine with that because it's within the same work period. It's when it accumulates and it causes an expense for the city that will be paid out when they retire, and I think that's what they're trying to get at. Okay, so the next one, I believe that we answered no to, is number 29. And that has to do with the annual audit, instead of my reading the entire thing. And the auditors this year did not file the due date is usually June 30th. They did not file the report, I believe, until like September. And they received an okay from the state, from the DCA, telling them all their municipalities that they audit, because there was some issue with the schools, which they also do. But then they send a check, the best practice, and it's one of the questions on there. So I believe when I called DCA, they told me that if we were close to not meeting our 24 plus, that they would let us slide on that one. So, and then number 37, as your municipality established by ordinance an anti-nepotism policy that at a minimum only authorizes the hiring the family members, relatives of municipal officials and employees, if the individual involved would not work in a direct supervisory relationship. I'm not aware of us having a policy written with that information on there, so I answered no.
We do have an ordinance. I don't know
It's
if
in
it
chapter
satisfies.
46 has a part on
But I
nepotism.
believe-
It's actually a policy that's needed.
Did
It's
I
not in a
yeah.
policy and procedure, it's an
Yeah,
ordinance, yeah.
yeah. And then number 44, this is only best practice. Number 44 and 45 has to do with electric vehicles, whether or not when the city is purchasing vehicles, do we consider purchasing an electric vehicle before we go to the gas vehicles, and also whether or not we have a fueling station for the electric vehicles. I'm not aware that we do either one. So, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Thank you, Marcy.
Okay, let's try this again. Samantha Silvers.
Round two.
I have a handout for her that she's gonna go over.
Sorry, this was just my notes copy, so it's kind of small, but
I
that'll
apologize.
be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's good to see everybody here. If you don't know me, I'm Samantha Silvers. I did formerly work in the planning department here, and about a year and a half ago, I started at the Millville Housing Authority. Since there are some new faces, I just wanted to kind of go over just a little bit about the Housing Authority. We are funded and regulated by HUD. We own and operate 489 units, residential units in the city. We also manage 191 housing choice vouchers, which are formerly Section 8 vouchers. Currently, 126 of them are in Millville. We also have a shared service. We operate the Salem Housing Authority, and we own and operate the Holly City Family Center. On the bottom right corner, just wanted to go over which properties we own, because like I said, I see some new faces, so sorry if I'm going over something you already know. But the three high-rises, the Riverview West, East, and JC Plaza, which you can all see from this room. On the next page, we have our garden-style apartments. We have Ferguson Court and Cedarview Court. So those 5 developments are all senior sites. And then Hollyberry Court down here on South 2nd Street is our only family site. And then Marksview Plaza is young and disabled, which is connected to the Holly City Family Center. So I'm here tonight because we are making an application to HUD to dispose of our scattered site units. And a scattered site unit basically is just individual properties that we own. So outside of these high rises and more development type projects, we have a mix of side-by-sides, half doubles, 1 duplex, and some vacant lots. And we're making the application that would allow us to sell these properties on the open market. 6 of the properties are currently occupied. The rest are vacant. You'll see on the next few pages, I have an overview of what properties that we are looking to sell. Let me see here. So you'll see the last, on the top right, Sharp Street and McNeil Street, they're actually boarded. They've had water issues. They're pretty bad on the inside, so we're looking into actually demolishing those properties along with the approval to sell. That way we're not putting a substandard house out into the market. And then on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see there's actually 4 lots here, although it looks like 2. They're just the smaller half-double lots right next to each other. That was part of a former project with the City of Millville that the Housing Authority and the City of Millville demolished units there, I don't know, probably 5-10 years ago. Okay, so disposition application, I just wanted to go over a couple of things that are part of the requirements for the application. We've done an environmental review, which everything pretty much checks out on the properties. No environmental histories, no underground storage tanks that we know of. Pretty straightforward as far as that side of the project. We've gotten fair market evaluations, appraisals on the properties. We are working on resident relocation plan. I've hired a consultant to do that. So those 6 residents, they'll be notified. There's a certain process that we have to go through, but that will, there'll be notifications, and we'll work with them with housing counseling to find them either, they can go into public housing, they can choose to get a mortgage and buy a property, or they can also, we can apply for what's called a tenant protection voucher, which is basically like a Section 8 voucher that they can take anywhere. As part of the application, we also have to disclose our method of disposition. So basically, are we working with somebody negotiating something that's under fair market value for a different rehabilitation project, something that's a redevelopment project, or is it just straightforward arm's length transactions? The justification, why we want to sell, and what we're going to use the proceeds for. Part of the public input of the projects, we included this in our annual plan, which is noticed every year that we do. We also have to hold meetings with our residents of the units specifically, but we also have to hold public meetings for residents of the Housing Authority in general and any representative groups. They're called the resident advisory boards, which we don't really have one, but we do still hold a public meeting. And on the support side of things, we need approval from the Millville Housing Authority Board and also the City of Millville consultation, which is why I'm here. So we're making the application, the justification part. As you could probably imagine, it's a little not cost effective to manage these scattered sites. So for instance, one of the boarded houses will cost us over $100,000 to rehab, whereas I can replace the roof on like one of our high rises almost for that amount of money, or the amount of plumbing and upgrades since these properties are built in 60s, 70s, 80s. So it's basically just a matter of limited funding that we get from HUD. We submit a budget every year that's typically funded 80 to 90%. So we're already working with the deficit. So we're trying to help the most people that we can. We have waiting lists over hundreds for each of the properties. So putting that money into the economy of scale, basically putting that across more units. The timeline, like I said, we've already done the environmental review. We've got the estimates. I'm here for my local government consultation. And the last piece of the puzzle is completing the resident, relocation plan. I have consultation plan, should be relocation. But basically, like I said, that's going to be offering them a public housing unit, which I reviewed which sites are available. And then also we'll apply for tenant protection vouchers so they can take that voucher, rent anywhere else. It could be in Millville, it could be anywhere in the United States, not in the United States. Or we can work with them and do housing counseling if they're interested in purchasing, which I believe one of our tenants might be. So, but that'll just be with a private mortgage company. It's not something that's within the housing authority. And what's required of the City of Millville, I really just need a letter of support. The specific person is the Chief Executive Officer of the Unit of Local Government. So I guess that would be Mayor Ordorf. But do you have any questions? Anything about the application itself or about the Housing Authority?
Currently, these properties aren't on tax rolls, correct? We're not collecting any property taxes, so if you get them back on the tax rolls, the city should benefit.
Right, we pay what's called a pilot, basically, so which is an overall agreement for the Housing Authority.
And you have to then, whatever you're buying next or building next, you're then maintaining that. So we sell the properties you currently have, hopefully goes back into possibly somebody who's looking to invest and kind of flip it and then get it up to living conditions that it can be occupied.
Well, and 6 of them are occupied, and I'd say probably 8 to 10, like they're in decent shape, like they pass our inspections. So they're not all terrible. They don't need a lot of work. We've redone, I think, 2 of them recently. So just the 2 really bad ones, we didn't want to put back on the market for someone to kind of substandardly redo.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood. And then I think one of my questions or concerns would be the residents that you have to relocate. The cost of that. I know the market's a lot more expensive now, so my fear is that those residents are gonna have to have a hard time finding something that's maybe within their budget or within the voucher that you're able to provide with them or to them, and losing them as Millville residents. Do they have to go elsewhere? You know, are they living, working, students going to school here, and then not able to find housing within the city that they're then leaving?
Gotcha.
Just
So,
a concern, just
as
a
part of
resident.
the tenant protection voucher, something that we do every year, it's called like a rent reasonableness adjustment. We have a payment standard. So we reevaluate every year how much we're going to pay on a voucher, and those go by bedroom size. So we have a payment standard for a 0-bedroom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. So we actually just did them, so they're more, they're consistent with what a market rate is now. So if the rent is $1,800 in the area, our voucher is going to be an $1,800 for a 3-bedroom or something like that. So we do keep up with that market.
So and then the listing of those properties, that's maintained by you guys as far as the housing authority, you contract with a real estate agent?
Yes.
Is it anybody in the public can to list
Yeah,
those
we'll do
properties?
a bid for a realtor, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
How many of the properties are occupied?
6.
Six.
Yeah, I think, I know there's a few families. It's usually the scattered sites is something that, when people are in the public housing for a while and they've established that they're good tenants, they take care of their units, they don't have a lot of violations, like they have a family or something, like it's something that they kind of progress to these sites, but, so they can choose to, there could be an opportunity for them to stay in these units with their voucher, or, like I said, if they do want to pursue a mortgage.
And I think you said this, I just had one other question. So the future projects, you're looking to make more of a community, community versus individual houses? I might have misheard or missed.
There's no development that we're proposing after this. The proceeds
so
will
just
go
a
back into, like
current.
paying for the appraisals, paying for the disposition, and then we'll just go into general operating for the units that we do have.
Current have, okay,
Yeah.
perfect, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
All right, and we'll go to open public comment on agenda items only. If anybody has any comments or concerns, please come to the podium. Don't everybody jump out of your chair at once. Seeing nobody, will close the public comment portion for this evening for agenda items only and move to discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Romanek?
Yes. Kirk, you hear about, Commissioner McQuaid. Commissioner,
All right.
excuse me, pardon me. I'll
Kirk
confuse-
works.
No, I would be
I
trying to
got
be
you.
formal. Commissioner Hewitt, you hear about the, or know of knowledge of the van on High Street in between Oak and Vine, of all the smashed windows that are out, is currently?
I have heard about it, I've seen it.
Yes, as
It's
of
legally registered.
okay. So is that, does
Therein
that,
is the issue with towing it. We will work on what we can do as it's available to us as far as removing it.
correct?
It's
and
just
I'm-
like the white one that sat on Main Street for almost a month.
Correct.
It's legally registered. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, Commissioner.
Understood, just making sure
Yeah.
there's knowledge about it, but, there's a parade coming up, so eventually,
We will,
yes,
work on
agreed.
that, yes.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt?
Really, I guess the only thing I have right now for the work session is tomorrow night, high school bonfire. Fire department naturally will be out there supporting that, lighting it and make sure it's under
Yeah,
control and
big
putting it out.
Turkey Day game parade.
For the football game.
Like a modern, what used to be Spirit Day, or
We used to do the
Spirit
Spirit
Parade?
Parade down High Street. We
Yeah,
no longer
it's-
do that.
it's-
We went to the, back in the day, they used to have bonfires.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, before you were born, we used to have-
it's gonna be
we used to have a
20,
Spirit Parade when I was in
I was
high
trying not to make anybody feel
It's-
older.
it's going to be not like us old people are used to. We spent all night at the bonfire.
I know of it.
It's going to be 20 pallets that will be lit and controlled by the fire department tomorrow night in celebration of the Thanksgiving Day football game.
Where we beat Vineland.
Is that at the softball fields? Where's this at? High school?
I believe it's at the high school, is it not?
Just they have it
Yes.
at the high school down in the field where we used to practice for marching band. So it's down
Yep.
the end of Broad and Wade. There's like a gate. Yeah. That was last year. I don't think you'll miss the fire. Awesome.
And then that's it, Mayor.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Commissioner McQuaid?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'm happy to announce that the first piece of equipment arrived at the Wheaton site today to begin the demolition. They didn't start yet because they're still waiting for their utility turn-off letters, but they will start cleaning up the fire damaged building. Then after that, the water will be capped. The water supply will be capped going to from the 16 to the 8-inch main, and then demolition will commence. So we're making progress there. Additionally, the rescue squad building, the asbestos removal has started on that today. So that will shortly be coming down too.
And equipment is on the ground, yeah. Commissioner.
Say progress. Oh, you already did. Sorry, that was on there too. All right. I have, Jeannie, do you want to bring this up so we have, can
Oh,
have
yeah,
Brock
sure.
acknowledge
So
it?
Sure, we have
Please.
correspondence from the State of New Jersey Local Finance Board regarding a 2022 financial disclosure statement enforcement concerning Planning Board members Uriah White and Jose Silver Jr. for failing to remedy notice of violations which were issued for non-compliance of filing the mandatory financial disclosure statements. I think Brock has more on this.
Yeah, we received a letter from Jacqueline Suarez, who's the chair of the local finance board, dated November 10th, 2022, and it confirms that 2 members of the zoning board of adjustment, alternate members, did not file their financial disclosure form, and apparently, even after being prompted by notice of violation, they still haven't filed them according to this letter. So the chair of the local finance board directed that the clerk turn this over to the governing body for action, including potential removal, because you can't serve on a board if you haven't filed your financial disclosure form. Now, our ordinance requires you can't just remove somebody. You have to give them a hearing, and so if the board so desires, it could entertain a resolution at tonight's meeting that would simply schedule the matter for a public hearing. Has to be public, and I would recommend that take place at our meeting on December the 20th, because the ordinance requires that we provide 20 days written notice, and we would not be able to provide enough notice for the first meeting in December, which I believe is on the 6th. So we could have a hearing. I would recommend the hearing take place between the 2 meetings. Probably the 6 o'clock would be the best time to give us enough time to get through a hearing. So the
My question to that, Brock, is what if the board member does not respond? As
Well,
I know,
the-
we've tried to contact, I mean,
I,
obviously, they've tried to contact through this,
Right.
organization here. I know Jeannie's reached out herself, and not have had any response from it. So how do we go about?
Well, we
that?
have to give them notice. We have to schedule the hearing. If they don't appear, then the board could choose to remove them from their positions.
Okay.
Have a resolution drafted, that Brock was kind enough to draft, so that we can go ahead and schedule that hearing. We can read it, or
Yeah, I
you
think
guys
that.
have a copy of this, probably.
I have extras here. Here.
Yeah, let's pass it out, and you can read it, it's okay.
Kind of pass this down.
And that would have to be added to the agenda if you would like to entertain that at tonight's meeting.
So we would, if they're in agreement, we can make a motion to add it to the agenda
Add it
this
to the
evening.
agenda.
Yeah.
Simply schedules a hearing.
Thank you, Brock, for being proactive on that. I think that I discussed with Jeannie this week that with this moving forward, we need to make sure that anybody who's volunteering for either board needs to be aware that they are going to be asked to fill out this financial disclosure form. It's required. Some people aren't aware of that and they don't feel comfortable doing it. However, we don't want to have to take an action that might need to be removing of that member. So whenever we, pull or draft up a policy to make sure that that is initiated and sent to both boards, both the planning and zoning board. So any new members are aware of that as well. And maybe before they apply, they go, I'm not quite comfortable doing that. And then we will avoid having to remove members without having to fill this out.
So then, as I read this, Brock, these financial statements were due
In April.
April
April
30th.
of 2022.
Yeah.
April
So
30th.
we're way over.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just as we do, we all have to, we have just financial.
It's not just the filing, but it's also the fine. So they were both assessed a $100 fine, so they have a choice. They can either pay the $100 fine or they can file the financial disclosure statement, is my understanding. Because I've had non-filers in other towns pay the fine and then same issue next year. So that was
And then if they
understanding.
choose not to file again, there's another fee, correct?
I think
that
it goes
it's-
up every year.
It
It
goes
goes
up
from
every year.
100 to I want to say 500 or something like that. I don't know.
Well, you don't want people to pay fines, so.
No, I think that's why we put this on the agenda
Yeah.
and create a meeting and make an opportunity
Right.
to
And
solve it.
the way I worded the resolution is that if either of them choose to submit a letter of resignation, then they don't have to have a hearing, so that's,
Okay.
And they'll be notified of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Has everybody read it?
Yeah, I'm fine with this, having the
Well,
public
I'm-
hearing and,
I make a motion to add it to tonight's agenda.
Okay,
Second the motion.
okay.
Oh, you did the roll call?
Okay, so, Commissioner Hewitt,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sui?
Yes.
Commissioner McQuaid,
Yes.
Commissioner Romanek,
Yes.
Mayor Orndorff.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay.
Perfect. I don't have anything else at this time, so we'll go to public. Someone else has something else, though. Someone's calling in. Caller, state your name. No. Public comment portion. We have now reached the public comment portion of the meeting. If anyone would like to address the commission, please come to the podium, state your name, and address your concerns. Please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Okay, seeing nobody, we'll close the public comment portion of this work session and go to closing comments of commissioners.
Yes, update, the vehicle will be towed tomorrow.
Just in time for the parade. Awesome.
2 days in advance.
So- perfect.
Close enough.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time.
All right, perfect. And we will
Make a motion to
make a
adjourn.
motion to close.